actually had a good hair day today. That's a fucking miracle. Hi, yes, welcome back to the shenanigans of the week. So, a couple weeks ago, I was scrolling through Netflix because I just needed something to watch. And I remembered that they had Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated on Netflix. So I just thought, okay, instead of finishing the 50 plus animes in my watch list, I'll just rewatch that because childhood nostalgia. And I was watching it and I remember there was like a lot of like stuff that talk about like it was like one of those shows that was just like really good. I'm talking like up there with like Gravity Falls and Steven Universe. So I've never watched Steven Universe, so I don't know what it's about. But I've heard things about it. So I'll assume it's good. So I just thought I'll watch it because literally none of my friends have watched this. Well, like, okay, I have two separate friend groups. Well, I have separate friend groups. I have my online friends and then my IRL friends. My online friends, they've never watched it, or at least the good majority of them haven't watched it. I'm just sitting here like, how have you not watched this? I love this show as a kid. Like, it was great. I mean, I didn't watch it and I had no idea what was going on, but I loved it. But I have some notes. I have some notes in my little sketchbook here that I never freaking use. And yeah, also I would just like to point out my fit. I went shopping with my friends the other day and we were in H&M and I saw this shirt and I was like, this reminds me of the shirt that V wore at the Grammys, like, I don't even know when. But anyway, V, I'm coming for your brand. I'm coming for your brand. First things first, and I'm gonna get so grilled for this, is that Fred sucks. Or like, Fred didn't suck, but he was, what the fuck did he have going on? All right, I never watched the original Scooby-Doo. What's New Scooby-Doo? I never watched that. And then the new Scooby-Doo series now, they're all terrible. Like, Fred didn't suck, Daphne sucked. I had so many issues with Daphne. Cause like a big point in like the whole Scooby-Doo series is like this Fred and Daphne have this whole will they won't they relationship going on. But in this series, it was really just Daphne pining over Fred and like Fred kind of being confused about his feelings and all that. But like Daphne was like, you know, low-key pressuring him. Cause like in the first season, Daphne's like always hanging over Fred. Honestly, the vibes that Daphne gives me, she gives me the kind of vibes that, oh yeah, you're only part of the Scooby-Doo gang because you like Fred. And like, you know, Fred's singing on with this trap. He has his love for traps, but he also has his love for Daphne in the show, and I appreciate that. But did they have to drag it on for so long? And another thing that my problem with Daphne is that everything this man does, he's like, oh, that's so romantic. Like, I don't remember what Fred said something. It was in no way or anyhow romantic, but Daphne was like, oh my gosh, that's so romantic. Fred, like, child, I just, don't come for me, all right? We have opinions. All opinions develop. I just did not like Daphne. What was another thing I didn't like about her? There's one other thing. Listen, I watched this in like the span of 2 weeks, and I literally just wrote this down. And most of this is more important to season 2. Because I skimmed season 1, I watched a few episodes of it. I watched a good majority of episodes. Like, if they didn't have anything to do with the plot of the show, then I did not watch it. Honestly, I loved Velma. She's just, her sarcasm, she is one of the most relatable characters in the show, and I love that. Like, she said this one line, I think it was in season 2 when like Scooby was like having like his feels for Fred's parents' dog Nova, and then he goes to Velma for advice, and she says this thing, it's just like, oh my god, I can't, I love her so much.
Velma, what would you do if you thought, well, you might be in love?
Try to snap out of it and dump the slacker before he had a chance to break my heart and crush what few dreams I had left.
Okay.
And maybe it's because I relate to her, because I would say the exact same thing. Honestly, my views on love are, we're not gonna get into that today. They're unimportant to this. Oh my god. Angel was the best character in the show. And it sucks ass because she died in vain. And that's so annoying to me. Because With Angel, she, out of the original Mystery Incorporated, she was the one that was like the more level-headed one and understood like the closer they got to the treasure, she knew that it was driving them further and further apart and that their friendship was getting more and more bad and toxic and all that. And it wasn't until after she died that Ricky or Mr. E realized that, yeah, she was right. Honestly, I loved her so much. The new Mystery Incorporated, I feel like they had a right to be mad at her, but they didn't have to take it that drastically to the point where they locked her in her studio. Like, what was that about? Okay, this could just be solved if I did just a regular Google search, but what the frick is up with Fred's parents? Like, why are they tan? Spoilers, obviously spoiler warning that I forgot to give earlier. Fred's real parents are Brad Childs and Judy Reeves of the original Mystery Incorporated. And when you see them in the flashbacks, specifically I remember that Brad had freckles. I'm pretty sure he had freckles. And Judy had like long flowing blonde hair and like they were pale. So why is it when they come back, why are they tan? I don't get that. And I know I could just look it up or something to just understand what is going on, but like, I don't get that. I need an explanation. What is going on? What is going on? Pericles was a great villain. Evil Birdman. Because like I said before, you could tell that with the original Mystery Incorporated, the closer and closer they got to the treasure, the worse and worse their behavior got towards each other. And Pericles is a really good example of this because if you know that like when the mayor gets arrested, he explains, yes, he teamed up with Pericles to get the piece of the planispheric disc that the kids had. And that they framed the kids so they could get the disc. But then the mayor betrays Pericles and takes the piece and turns him in. But I don't understand why they had to like put him in a whole solitary confinement thing with like surveillance and all that. But you know what? That's not neither here nor there. I feel like that was like Pericles' point where like he turned evil. I don't know why specifically. Maybe it was just that the fact that he was rotting in jail and like plotting his revenge. He's like, oh my god, I'm gonna get everybody. But it was interesting to see. And like I said, as the series goes on, you can see him getting more and more ruthless and evil. I don't think evil is the right word, but I'll use evil and like basically saying, I'm gonna get to this treasure and get that power no matter what the cost. And honestly, I feel like that makes him a great villain. That makes him a good villain. He could even be up there with Bill Cipher. I feel like him and Bill Cipher would get along. Maybe they get along. I don't know. But anyway, going back to the mayor, honestly, like even from the beginning, you kind of knew that like his relationship with Fred was like always really sus. It's like he was always going around and scolding Fred for like his traps and just like, oh my god, why can't you kids just stay out of this? This is grown adult business. Like I understand that because like they're teenagers still in college. I was like, Fred does not look like he is in high school. I still forget that they're technically in high school. Maybe it's because like Fred is like big boy buff and all that. Man's got skinny legs though. But that it always just throws me off that like in this show he's in high school, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, like I said, both him and the mayor, it never felt like they had a bond. It never felt like they had a bond, like a father-son bond. It always just felt like the mayor was always just scolding Fred for like being in all the like solving all the mysteries and all of that. It's just like the fact that a bunch of teenagers can solve a case that cops can't. You need to rethink things. And then there were just some logical things that I just had to question. There were just a few things in a few episodes that just didn't make sense to me in terms of like legal and like, you know, actual things. And before you scold me, I listen. I grew up with Matt Pat, all right? Game theorist, film theorist, specifically film theorist. I question the logic of TV shows. That's why I can't watch The Avengers with my parents. I don't know. It's why I can't watch certain movies with my parents. Because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Where's the logic in that?
Also, I'm a Virgo, so I don't want to hear it.
It's just how I am, all right? But like in the gnome episode, it's not even the fact that like the whole goo thing where like they froze all that. I guess they explained that with the jelly toxin, and that was just enough for me to be like, okay, that makes sense. No, what I'm concerned about is the fact that this whole fair thing, like, why didn't the fair get shut down? People were getting paralyzed and sent to the hospital. And that episode, I'm pretty sure took place in the course of one night. Maybe two, but they didn't shut it down because legally if something like that happened, if someone passed out, there's an ambulance, something like that happened, they would be sent, the fair would be shut down completely. But the mayor was even like, oh my god, why couldn't you kids do this when the fair was over? Can't you stay out of our business, wait till the fair is over and then you can investigate? I'm like, no, because then the evidence will be gone. Use your head. And then they moved all the patients into like the people that got like frozen or got the touched by the gnome or whatever. They moved them into a movie theater, which just, I don't get this. Maybe it's just the mayor who was just like, yeah, no, we got to keep this thing in business because we got to make money because of capitalism. Yeah, that just didn't make sense to me. And then there was the whole Aphrodite thing, which I'm going to question logic of.
I'm too lazy from editing, but basically what I said was that Aphrodite's potion didn't make sense because if they were able to follow her command, then it had to do with brainwashing. But I'm gonna assume it just like if they heard her voice, they would just follow her. So yeah.
It was the Manor episode, but this just made me hate whatever that thing Daphne and Fred have, whatever they had on. That just made me hate it even more because there was in the Manor episode, you know, when they go down to Darrow Mansion and like they get by Danny Darrow or whatever his name is. And then the group gets split up and Daphne and Fred end up in this pool. It's a trap where basically Danny Darrow put a bunch of items on the other side of the pool so they could escape. Fred like is going to get the items and is figuring out how to thing them to like escape. Fred is tied to a chair with his hands behind his back and Daphne is chained to the sofa that's chained to the bottom of the pool. There was like a whisker, a hammer, a screwdriver, and a rock. And basically Fred figures out how to use all of them and then he goes to the rock and it's like, well, what is that rock doing? I'm sitting here like, do you not see your friend / potential lover chained to the bottom of the pool? Are you dumb? Like that's not even just like a whole thing like, oh, I just forgot about her. That's basic human decency. Like, how you gonna forget about her? That's just disrespectful. And then, oh my god, and then Daphne says, and this is another one of those things where she's just romanticizing everything. And she says this thing where it's like, oh, well, at least we'll be together. How romantic. Like, what is romantic about that? The fact that you're chained to the bottom of the pool? I mean, yeah, Fred does get her out. They don't die, but it still pisses me off that it takes him a minute to be like, well, what does that rock do? What does that rock do? Like, oh my god, it pisses me off so much. This isn't really funny, but, well, actually, no, it's the way they made a Twilight reference in this. I never even watched Twilight, and I'm not going to watch Twilight. I've heard enough about Twilight. I ain't watching that ish. But they had a character named, basically the gang in the first season, by the end of the first season, the gang splits up because like, the parents are like, this is too toxic. Y'all aren't good for each other. We're splitting you up because rebellion. And then basically, Fred goes off to find his parents. Shaggy sends out to military school, and Scooby is sent to a farm. And then Daphne and Velma stay in Crystal Cove. Velma's kind of doing her own thing, and then Daphne gets with this dude named
Baylor Hotner,
who is in town for Crystal Cove to film a new movie called Dusk, which is obviously a Twilight reference. And then the man ends up being the fucking clown. I can't. And then why does this man go to high school with Daphne? Like, he's literally in there holding her hand and like holding books together, so it's probably signifying that he goes to school there. But like, why is he in school? This is a grown ass man. Why is he in school? Well, those whole 2 episodes were just, they were something. Also, why did they get engaged at 18? I don't even remember how that happened. I don't like the fact that they got engaged before Fred could like actually fully understand his feelings for Daphne. Also, why did they have to call it off? Listen, I don't support y'all being together at so young, but why did you have to call it off? Like, he could have postponed the wedding. And there is no telling how long it would have taken Fred to find his parents. Because by the time, I'm gonna assume that like that took course over the span of like 3 weeks, because that man has a whole beard. But then like Daphne goes off with that Taylor Lautner dude, and like she looks happy. That proves my point that Daphne is literally kind of in the mystery game just because of Fred, because she or like No, she doesn't say that. But basically, she says when they show up at her doorstep, Lautner's there or whatever, and Daphne pulls Fred aside and is like, for the first time, I have someone there who cares more about me than traps. And Daphne just annoyed me in a lot of ways because, like, yeah, she's smart, but she just says something. She's just like, oh, Fred, like, that's just... Like, what other personality trait does she have besides loyalty? Like, she's just the rich girl who, like, doesn't really spend her parents' money that much, but at the same time kind of does spend her parents' money a lot. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Ricky Owens went from stoner and hippie to a fat capitalist. So obviously he sucks. So basically we learned by like the second season that like Ricky Owens is Mr. E and Ricky Owens is one of the original members of Mr. Incorporated. Also, there's another really good example that was used that I just remembered. It was the Scare Bear one where like Mr. E had set the bomb to like blow up the fair. And you know what this man said that just proves the point, like, yeah, this evil is like really bad. This man said, I would have destroyed my own company just to get my hands on the planispheric disc. I mean, that's good for us because like capitalists, you know, being bad for the environment. So you give a lot of people money. Ah yes, we switched camera angles because I don't feel comfortable facing away from my door because that's making me very paranoid. Also, I forgot to say that that me and my family recently just moved. So there's just a bunch of boxes everywhere. That I haven't unpacked yet because I'm lazy and a lot of my stuff still isn't in here. So yeah, I need to talk about Ricky. What else? The sheriff is sus, alright? The sheriff is a good example of abuse of power. Like, man just literally said he has gotten reports from misarrests or false arrests made. And he said he's gotten like a good amount of them. So, also Mans is biased as hell. I wanted to talk about like the OG Mystery Incorporated versus the new Mystery Incorporated. I've kind of already touched on it in just a few points, but like I said, with the OG Mystery Incorporated, as like the season 2 progresses, you can see as they get closer and closer to the treasure, their friendship starts to wither and they start to get like grow to hate each other. The only thing that's keeping them together is Professor Pericles, because Cassidy, she died because, you know, Pericles deemed her as in the way, so still mad about that, but whatever. Brad and Judy are only there because they have a loyalty to Professor Pericles, and Ricky's kind of stuck in it because, like, he was planning a mutiny and Pericles put larva venom in his spine or something. I don't know what it was. Basically, he just says that at the push of a button, it releases some of it, and it just causes him a lot of pain. So Ricky's stuck in for the long haul. I mean, they all died, so it doesn't matter. But with the new Mystery Incorporated, the treasure beneath Crystal Cove is Nibiru, which is this evil Anunnaki that for the last 5,000 years has been bringing groups together in an attempt to free him. Was it 5,000 years? There were 8 groups that Nibiru brought together. And I'm gonna assume that he brought them together every generation, because with Fred's parents being part of the original Mystery Incorporated and Fred being a part of the new one. So I'm gonna assume that he made one that Nibiru brought a group together every other generation. The show also explains why Scooby-Doo can talk in like Nightmare and Brad. I don't know why I remember these episodes. I just do. Basically, she explains like, yes, the Anunnaki, they don't have a physical form, so they take over the bodies of animals, and that's why their descendants can talk. So Scooby is a descendant of the Anunnaki, and that's why he can talk. If you watch Film Theories, then you would already know this. I'm sorry, because Film Theory already said that. I'm copyrighted from MatPat. I'm sorry, MatPat. But that's all I got for today. I do really recommend that you watch this show, you know, even though I just spoiled the entire thing. I still don't believe that any of my friends haven't watched this. That's so weird. But I just hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!